Hi, everybody. Sorry about that. I lost track here. I'm just trying to work on a little project that I have here. And I've been trying everything to get these three blocks to connect with each other. I've tried glue. I have tried a drill. I have tried crazy glue, duct tape, everything that you could think about to get these things to kind of connect together. So, everybody, this is Dale from Politech. I appreciate you guys being here. If you're a follower of Politech, you know we talk about all things politics and technology. Sometimes we tend to tie them together. Let me just put these blocks away real quick because we're going to talk about them in just a few minutes or so. So, I want to save them. So you might be wondering what the heck I was doing and what I was working on. I've been working on this for a couple of hours, and I've been sitting here trying to fit these blocks together with almost no success until I overused the duct tape and I was able to go ahead and at least get them connected in some form or shape or whatever it may be, even though it didn't make a whole lot of sense, right? So today's topic, we're going to be talking about propaganda and conspiracy theories that make no sense once you start putting them away, and how much effort gets put into making the blocks fit, even though they don't. And today we're going to talk about specifically the conspiracy theory that's going around talking about detainees being used as experimental guinea pigs with Neuralink and inserting Neuralink chips into their heads. And there's been a lot of work into trying to get this all fit together. And it's been linked to a physician or a business here in Hawaii. So since I'm here in Hawaii, I kind of wanted to address this directly with everybody and clear this up and show you how propaganda and conspiracy theories, even though sometimes look like they're packaged very well, when you do your basic research, you can take them apart and figure it out. So join me for the next 15 or 20 minutes while we discuss this. Sorry, still fussing around with the blocks a little bit. So I want to talk to you about these blocks, and I want to use these to compare them to what's going on with this misinformation and this conspiracy theory that's kind of going around. So these blocks are solid, right? We can see them. They're all solid. They're all measurable. They're a certain color. They're a certain shape, and they represent real things, right? They do represent something, and also being a children's toy, right? One of those things. So let's kind of compare them, and I'm going to show block by block how this kind of will make some sense to you at the very end of it. So let's pick the first block and talk about this. So this is one block that immigration detention represents. So ICE detainees being transferred from one country or another. So this block is actually real. So I'm going to put this aside and we're going to talk about the second block. So the second block is the Neuralink block, the cylinder block that we're looking at right now. And it's the advanced computer technology project that we're hearing a lot of things about. They're just doing their clinical trials. Elon Musk has a part in it as a lead in that and so forth. So this is a real block, right? We can see it, we can feel it. It actually represents something. And the third block is a real medical provider in Hawaii and a real company, the NRILCC, and it's a real physician. So this is real as well. So I want to point that out. This is very important to understand that even when we talk about misinformation and we talk about this propaganda, most of it is actually real components. But here's the problem that we need to realize. These blocks were never designed to fit with each other. They were never designed to coexist together in any way. So sometimes these blocks don't fit together. And that's when we reach for the things like the glue, the screw, the duct tape. That's when the story gets built and put together, right? Because on its own, it does not make a bit of sense to anybody. Not because it's true and we put this story together, it's because we were able to take, bend, manipulate, duct tape, transport things into new dimensions where we actually made it look like it fits. But because it feels like it fits, doesn't mean it actually fits. And that's how conspiracy theories are actually born. Not from nothing, but from real pieces jammed together until they form something that either is somewhat meaningful or somewhat familiar to the population that is looking at this information, right? AKA the conspiracy theory followers. And some of us are not conspiracy theory followers, but we still kind of connect with it, and it becomes a reality for us. And that's a whole different psyche that we could talk about a little bit later. And that's also how propaganda works, which we've been dealing with propaganda since pre-election for Trump. I mean, we've been dealing with propaganda for decades, but we've only seen the master of it since Trump's been running for office. Things like propaganda. You don't invent new facts. That's one of the key rules with propaganda, misinformation, and these theories is you don't produce something new. It has to be tangible. You have to be able to feel it. You have to be able to actually feel it and look at it as a real entity, and that it serves a particular purpose, right? Because that's the part that's going to kind of grab you in and go, oh, yeah, that's right. That doctor does exist here, and he does have some ties for his company, NRIC, with Tripler Medical Center and with Straub. So if you're listening to the theory out there, I'm not going to explain the whole theory that's out there. That's part of the puzzle that they're pushing, is this physician is tied to Straub Medical Center, which has contracts with Tripler, and Tripler may have a contract with Neuralink to be able to transplant these things into detainees' brains, one of those things. So, just kind of think about that. It's, as you tear it apart, it makes zero sense at all, especially since NRIC LLC has been around since about 2000. And that physician has always had contracts with Straub and also with Tripler Medical Center. So, hey, it's nothing new. So, today's episode, again, we're going to be touching very deeply on these. You know, One of the things I want to say, and this is not a kid's show, but what pieces belong and what pieces don't belong, what pieces connect together and which ones fit together properly. Um, this is important questions to ask yourself every single time you encounter a conspiracy theory or misinformation. Important parts. So this is Politech. Let's roll on to the real beef of everything. Okay, and keep in mind that I am doing this live today, so I do have some people in the chat that I will answer questions to. Feel free to run those questions up the board as I'm talking, and I will try to get to them. In fact, I got into an interesting question during the break here, and it is, what are the theories? Like, I don't know what you're talking about, and so I think I need to represent what those theories are, and that I'm going to be debunking today. So it's a theory that's kind of going around that ICE detainees are being transferred to Hawaii and to have Neuralink devices implanted in their heads, and supposedly through an organization or a company named NRILCC and a local medical facility here in Hawaii, along with a local physician that's been here. He's had this business since about 2005. I met him a couple of times. Pretty much I can tell you he's not part of this, but here's how it actually is presented online. One, ICE detainees moved between states such as Florida and I believe Phoenix are being brought in Hawaii and held in Hawaii. That's true, of course. The NRI LLC is supposed to be the middleman to handle these transactions, this moving, the medical surgeries, the implant, which is untrue. And brain implants occur with it without any consent. That's another big one that's in here. That's questionable whether or not that's actually happening, but I highly doubt that it is happening. And the last one is all hidden from the public and any oversight committees within the government itself. So, I mean, I never put anything past the government, right? They've done many things in the past to indigenous people, so I don't put them past anything at all, including, if we go back and just talk about a few things about planting smallpox in blankets before they gave them to Native Americans, things like that. So these things sound alarming, right? They really do. That's exactly how they spread. But we need to separate the facts from the inference and misinformation before actually jumping to conclusions. So you out there in the audience who asked this question, and all of you that are interested in it, need to take the due diligence of doing your checks before you actually start reposting things, doing your own narrative about it, because you're not being of any help. What you're doing is you're causing harm and you're causing misinformation, stress, and distress to people who are out there, people's loved ones that are in detention at this point in time. If you're an immigrant, if you're an illegal immigrant to the United States, this is another concern that you actually have. So I want to make it clear to everybody, please make sure you check your facts before you repost, before you download and repost again. Whatever you're doing, stop. Spend that 15 minutes, 20 minutes, get out there and figure out what's going on before you actually do that. It is your responsibility to do that. So let's just talk about Neuralinks a little bit. We'll take a few minutes about that, discuss Neuralinks. And many of you already know Elon Musk has headed that. He has a big chunk of investment into that as well. But first, Neuralink is real. I mean, that's something that actually exists. It's a neurological company co-founded by Elon Musk that develops brain-computer interfaces, or acronym for that is BCISs, and that's been in progression for quite some time. They did have animal testing. They did do it on, I think, chimpanzees. I forget exactly what the animals they did it on was. They were very successful. I think they were just cleared for 7 implants in humans. That is done. That took quite some time to do. Those were all somewhat successful, and they do what they did with it. But these devices are designed to help people with things like paralysis, neurological disorders, communicate, and they can actually communicate with a computer or AI having this chip implanted in them. So most importantly, clinical trials are FDA regulated. It has to be FDA regulated. Participants give informed consent to be able to have this done. So they're not being, taken from detainees to patients or to guinea pigs without any type of consent. It's just not happening. So trials are publicly registered. In fact, you can look up those trials if you want to with no problem at all. And procedures involved in invasive neurosurgery are detailed in its compensation and also in the knowledge base of the physician who's doing it. So it can't be any Blojo ICE agent that is existing in an ICE facility doing the surgery or prepping for the surgery, whatever it may be, because that's some of the theories that are out there that exist. So, in other words, this isn't something that can be done or happen quietly. It's a big deal. Implants require things like operating rooms, imaging, post-op care, document of medical devices that have been implanted. So they can't get around all of those things. No evidence exists that Neuralink is secretly implanting detainees in Hawaii. And there's no trial sites in Hawaii at all. No, not at Straub, in which the address has come up when people have done a search on NRRC, because he is associated with Straub because he does services at Straub. No tie at all. This poor physician who has given his time, efforts, and helping hospitals, patients with neurological issues and deficits is now being attacked with this. And so it's not fair. I have always worked on discovering misinformation and disinformation and exposing it or stopping it at its roots. I've got decades of this experience. And so I find this as another very natural path for me to come on sites like TikTok and other sites and just debunk the very serious propaganda that exists out there. When I first started doing this, I was debunking everything that was out there, and I just drove myself crazy trying to do it. And so I've limited myself to these major types of propaganda that exist out there and conspiracy theories that are hurting people and can hurt people or have the potential to do so. So that's my goal. So let's just talk about the next company involved in this, right? So NRI LCC and Dr. Felix Song. Let's spend some time on this. The company people name in this claim is NRI LCC. Their name pops up like everywhere. In fact, if you Google it, it's the first thing it's going to come up with is this conspiracy theory. It's a legitimate medical company. and it's in Honolulu. They specialize in neural interventional radiology and imaging and treating blood vessels and etc. So for those of you that don't have a medical background, what this means is that this specialty will bring in people who have symptoms that are neurological, no matter what it may be, and then run them through a battery of different testing. Some of them may be radiology involved, some of them may not, some of them will be invasive, meaning they go inside your body, and some may not at all. So that's what this company does. And keep in mind, I said this earlier, they've been around since about 2005. They do their primary work at Straub. They also have a contract with Triple R Hospital, which is not uncommon for physicians in Hawaii to do that with, for covering for certain things, or the military may not have that expertise in their ranks at that point, so they're going to have to go out and contract to physicians. So NRI has a government contract. They do it. And we just talked about it, including like Triple R Hospital. And they also provide testing for military personnel as well. The physician often associated with this is Dr. Wong. So Dr. Wong is the following. He is board certified in neuroradiology. He trained in Washington University School of Medicine with decades of experience in things like diagnostic interventional radiology. He has many certifications for that. He is licensed for that as well. He is, again, affiliated with Straub Medical Center and Tripler. So these are the things that you're going to be seeing coming up when you do your searches for them. And there's no public evidence, zero public evidence that Dr. Song is involved with Neuralink or any other experiment, brain experiment or implants that are taking place. He is performing standard legal medical procedures in the state of Hawaii where he is licensed to do so. So let's remove him from the conspiracy point. See how it's all starting to kind of dissolve itself and disappear? Many of these will, once you're doing your research, many of these will very quickly. So let's just talk about the other component on this, right? So the other component is the ICE detainees and Hawaii, right? Because they're being brought over from Hawaii, from Phoenix, and then also from Florida, specifically from Miami. So ICE does not operate detention centers specifically in Hawaii. Okay. And detainees are sometimes transferred between states, held temporarily, and then moved out quickly afterwards, counting on where they're going to be going to. So the claim that detainees are being secretly kept in an experimental environment would require so much effort for this. It would require things like medical documentation. I'm telling you, there would be a lot of whistleblowers in Hawaii for this. And I know that personally because I was a whistleblower for something at one point in time. And there would be tons of investigation and lawsuits that took place. None of that exists in Hawaii. Zero does. So while ICE detentions are legitimate topics to critique, we're all against it. Not all of the majority of us are. There's no evidence of this theory in Hawaii. There's no evidence of this theory in Miami, and no evidence of this theory in Phoenix. It doesn't exist. So let's testing the hypothesis, as I like to call it. Let's think like investigators. So take on your investigator hat. I've already got that. Grab your blocks, okay, that we just talked about. Grab those blocks. I'm going to put mine down right there. And let's put on that investigator headpiece or hat, and let's look a little bit deeper into things. So if the theory were true, we would expect at least one of the following things. We would find this somewhere. FDA's enforcement or legal actions that are public. Hospital staff or whistleblowers coming forward and leaking the information or getting it out there. And believe me, healthcare workers, we get involved in healthcare because we want to help people and not hurt people. So if there's any industry that's out there that's going to have whistleblowers on this, it is healthcare. The other thing is leaked medical records or documents, classified research contracts that may exist between these organizations, somebody who is processing it, somebody who left it out on their desk, whatever it may be. And you're going to see tons and tons of lawsuits from families, right? Because they're saying alligator, Alcatraz, there's a few hundred people that are missing from another facility. There's another few hundred people missing. Many of these people have advocates in the form of lawyers that have taken on their cases pro bono. So you would see this type of investigation taking place, but none exists. So what do we see here? What is there? Public registered medical companies. That's exactly what we see in the form of NRIC. We see routine government healthcare contracts being written up that are public, and I've reviewed every single one of them. None of them tie Neuralink directly into the physician, Straub, or really Kaiser, not Kaiser, but let's pull Kaiser out of there. Tripler. It doesn't exist. Okay. So one of the other things that we do see is misinterpretation of unrelated facts and almost a zigzag of the way that we're actually tying them together, which when you look at it, right? When we look at all these blocks, they look good by themselves, but there's no way the links that put them together do not make any sense, or they're not there at all. So interesting, right? So there's your hat, right? You got on your investigator's hat, just like I did right now. And in this point, it doesn't make very much sense. So why did the theory actually spread? And it spread by wildfire. I had a friend on social media who sent me a link, and I'll put it up here, of a woman talking about the conspiracy and that she actually had done all this research. And she named her research. It's the same places I went to look. And I'm telling you, either she is misrepresenting that information or she's outright pushing propaganda for some reason, like likes, followers, etc. My account does not do that. My account is about exposing and also clarifying things, because I think just like me, you're probably tired of the propaganda and you're tired of the conspiracy theories, and the internet, AI, and social media has made it wild, wild west of misinformation. And we all have to deal with that. So we need to do our part to make sure that we're not pushing this type of stuff. So why do these theories exist? So the reason is because they touch real fear in individuals, right? So let's take an example, immigrant enforcement. Who does that affect? That affects immigrants, and even legal immigrants it affects as well. So it hits your fear, and then it starts to spread. You push it and share that post, and before you know it, it's gone viral and you've hit thousands, if not millions of people out there. The other one would be like powerful emerging technologies, right? So that's another fear that's out there. A lot of stuff with AI being pushed is, again, propaganda, misinformation, and on theories that don't really exist. And the other one is it pushes distrust of institutions like the United States government, which you should be like, I'll question it. I don't quite believe it. So it does work on that mistrust of entities and organizations and institutions that exist out there. These are legitimate concerns, they really are, but fear alone is not evidence, right? Skepticism without discipline becomes something like paranoia, and the pattern seeking in real time but unrelated facts becomes just craziness in the form of stories that are meant to cause people to feel fear. And so we need to realize that. You're probably thinking right about now, like, what, Dale? I mean, what should I do? I don't quite know what to do. So let's be clear about a whole bunch of things. There is no proof that ICE detains or are receiving Neuralink implants. 2, there is no verified connection between Neuralink and NRI LLC. 0. Done it all. I've done my research on that. Those that are saying there is are actually lying to you, or they're carrying on the propaganda and they actually believe it. There's no evidence of secret human experiments in the state of Hawaii. 0. Dr. Felix Song is performing standard medical work that he's been doing for decades without any type of experimental. He's not a neuroscientist in the sense that where he's doing research. He is an actual functional neurologist that helps patients, and he's been doing that for a long time. That doesn't mean that we stop questioning things, right? I mean, we should always questioning things. So that doesn't mean that you stop questioning things. You should question things even more now. You should be your own journalist and do your research. But this does mean we ask the better questions, the harder questions, and avoid forcing blocks together that don't even fit together because you want it to fit a particular narrative in your belief systems. Get past all of that stuff that's harming you psychologically, that's also hurting the community. So remember, the blocks were started with ICE and Neuralink and NIRLCC. Today, we pulled the tape off of them, we scraped away the glue, and we asked the following questions. Do these pieces actually fit? Or are we just being told that they fit perfectly when we can see they don't? When we start looking at the tape and the glue and all these other things and realizing they have no part of the story. So this is Politech. Stay curious, stay tuned. Follow me on Spotify, follow me on Substack. I'm also on YouTube. I am on TikTok. I might be off of there pretty soon because I logged on yesterday and there was 5,000 less followers for me. I'm not sure why. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. Follow me, like it, and then join me on Spotify and all these other sites. And thank you so much for following me.